Welcome to Dose of Wonder. I'm Caitlin, your guide on this journey through mindfulness, mental health, grief, and personal growth. Each episode will dive into honest explorations and gentle reflections to help you find moments of calm, clarity, and a little bit of wonder too. So grab your favorite cozy spot, take a deep breath, and let's get started. A little while ago, I got sick. Not dramatically sick, but sick enough that my world got very small very fast. For days, I didn't do much of anything. I stayed in bed. I moved from the bedroom to the spare room. For the first week, I was even camped out on an uncomfortable inflatable mattress, which really adds insult to injury when you're already not feeling great. There was a lot of resting, a lot of doing nothing. And to be honest, a fair bit of boredom. But there was also reading. And when I didn't even feel up to holding a book or focusing my eyes, I listened to audiobooks with my eyes closed, just letting the words wash over me. At the time, it didn't feel like anything profound was happening. I was just trying to get through the days and feel human again. But somewhere in the middle of that forced pause, something shifted. Slowing down started to feel good. Not exciting, not productive, just good. There's something about having no choice but to stop that shows you how much noise your normal routine carries. When all that noise drops away, there's suddenly space. Mental space. Emotional space. And into that space, ideas rushed in. One of the first books I picked up was Courage is Calling, Fortune Favors the Brave by Ryan Holiday. If you're familiar with his work, you know he writes about Stoicism in a very modern, accessible way. The daily Stoic, stillness is the key, the obstacle is the way. Those are other books of his. And he's basically translating ancient philosophy for contemporary life. This particular book focuses on courage, one of the 4 core Stoic virtues, along with wisdom, justice, and moderation. It's an okay book, solid, thought-provoking, very motivational. But what struck me wasn't just the idea of courage as we usually imagine it. Not big heroic acts, not dramatic bravery. Stoic courage is quieter than that. It's the courage to govern your inner life, to stick to your principles when it would be easier not to exercise good judgment when you're tired, scared, or uncomfortable. Which, to be honest, made it a pretty perfect book to read while sick. When your body feels weak, courage looks different. It's not about pushing through. It's about patience, endurance, letting yourself be vulnerable without spiraling. That book felt like building an internal structure, a kind of moral scaffolding to lean on when everything else felt wobbly. Once I had that internal framework in place, my reading drifted outward. I started listening to For Creatures Such as We by Sasha Sagan. She's the daughter of Carl Sagan, the famous cosmologist, and he passed away when she was only 14. The book is part memoir, part philosophy, part meditation on meaning. She talks about what her father taught her, about science and wonder, about her family's cultural background, and about creating rituals and traditions with her own husband and young daughter. This book felt like the perfect counterbalance to Stoicism. Where Stoicism asks, how do I conduct myself well? Sagan asks, how do we create meaning together in an enormous, indifferent universe? She writes about rituals not as religious obligations, but as human tools. The ways we mark time, the ways we celebrate, the ways we remember, and anchor ourselves to each other. And reading it while sick, cut off from my normal routines, really drove that home. When everything stops, you realize how much meaning lives in the small repeated things. Morning coffee, shared meals, seasonal traditions. Tiny habits that make life feel coherent. So there I was, lying in bed, physically stuck, but mentally moving between inner discipline and shared meaning. From there, my curiosity zoomed all the way out. I finished listening to Cosmic Queries by Neil deGrasse Tyson. If you know his work, you know what this is. Big questions, big universe, big perspective. Like, who are we? How did we get here? Where are we going? On one level, books like this can feel destabilizing when you're reminded how small you are on the cosmic scale of things. It can trigger a kind of existential shrug of, why bother? But paired with Stoicism, it does the opposite. The cosmic perspective shrinks your worries. Stoicism tells you what's still within your control. Together, they're grounding. Yes, you're tiny in the universe. And yes, your choices still matter. Your courage still matters. Your values still matter. Your small human rituals still matter. From there, my reading took a sharp turn back toward the very human. I finished the book Miracle Creek by Angie Kim, a courtroom mystery centered on a Korean immigrant family in the U.S. The author is both Korean and a lawyer, and that dual background comes through in every page. It's a murder mystery, yes, but it's also a deep exploration of culture, family loyalty, legal systems, and truth. The courtroom scenes feel incredibly real. The legal tension is sharp. But what stayed with me most was the cultural layer, the clash between collectivist family expectations and the individualistic demands of the Western legal system. It made me think about how many invisible frameworks shape our behavior: culture, law, family roles, obligation. And again, being sick and slowed down gave me the patience to really sit with those complexities. Not everything needs to be consumed quickly. Some stories ask you to pay attention. And then, because balance matters, I needed something lighter. I finished Our House by Louise Candlish, a British domestic thriller, fast-paced, gripping, full of twists. The kind of book that keeps your brain engaged without asking you to contemplate the meaning of existence. And that matters too. There's wisdom in knowing when to go deep and when to let yourself just be entertained. Narrative immersion is a form of rest. It exercises your mind without draining your emotional reserves. Looking back, what strikes me most isn't just the list of books. It's about how intentional the stack became without me trying. Stoicism for inner strength, ritual for shared meaning, cosmic perspective for humility, cultural and legal complexity for empathy, pure narrative drive for mental rest. All of it happened because I was forced to stop, which makes me wonder how often we actually need that pause, whether it comes from illness, burnout, or a conscious decision to slow down. We spend so much time consuming information, but so little time synthesizing it, letting ideas talk to each other and letting them shape us. That forced stillness gave me that space. And now that I'm feeling more human again, and yes, very grateful to be able to taste most things again, I'm curious. What have you been reading to or listening to lately? What unexpected ideas have found you when life slowed down, even briefly? I'd love to hear. And that's it for this week's podcast. Next week, I'll be getting back into mental health and talking about how we're hardwired to trust other people. Until next time, thanks for listening, and don't forget to live with a dose of wonder.
In the stillness, we begin with stories stitched in softer skin. A spark, a sigh, a breath of